It's awesome. All right. This morning I made a very realistic, not negative video about relationships, but a very kind of serious video about relationships, because relationships are, they could get serious and intense. Hence the reason why, 50 something people get divorced every year? Or whatever the stat is. Anyways, a lot of people get divorced. So here's how to not get divorced. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do, if you want to have a happy and loving relationship, a positive relationship, is the first thing you need to do is find happiness on your own in solitude. That way you could be more loving, you could be more caring, you could be, you could find happiness within, you could find love within, and then you could give that love and that happiness to the people around you without asking for love from the people around you. Now, second thing is to try to find a partner that has also found happiness in solitude. So they have happiness within and love within. So then they could give you happiness and they could give you love freely without asking for love in return, because they already have love within, right? And of course, you're still going to give them love because you already found happiness in solitude. So you give love freely. So that's a very healthy relationship. Losing the ego and the self, dissolving the self and dissolving the ego, is also a huge help in loving another person and being with another person, because you're not self-obsessed. Okay, when you lose the ego and you dissolve the self and the ego, you're not really selfish. You don't really focus on the self anymore. You're not obsessed with you, and you could give love more. All right, so those are the two major things, and you're going to want to find a partner that has also dissolved the ego or dissolved the self, right? So those two are major. Now, if you decide to choose a partner and they haven't found happiness in solitude, and they haven't dissolved the ego and dissolved the self, they're going to start depending on you to make them happy, or they're going to start depending on you to love them. Okay, after that honeymoon stage is over, because when you first meet somebody, you're like, oh my god, that person's so amazing, I love them so much, they make me so happy, la 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 la, and you go out on dates and you go to the Disney World and you go to the movies and all this other stuff, and you take long walks in the park and stuff like that. I'm not going to say the beach, that's too cliche. Yeah.
The park is pretty cliche.
What's that?
The park is pretty cliche.
Yeah, the park is pretty cliche too. But anyways, so the honeymoon phase is over, right? So, the honeymoon phase could last anywhere from 1 day to 2 years. But when it's over, and all the neurons are gone, and all the love, happy chemicals are, fading, because, reality's setting in, you're living together now, and, you realize, this person might not be your Prince Charming, or your, princess, whatever, la la la. Reality sets in your life. Wait a second. Wait, what's that? Soulmate. Yeah, soulmate. So, yeah, reality might set in after the honeymoon phase is over. And then when that sets in, you may start to realize that, in fact, this person might not be the one, so, where was I going with that? I don't even know. I don't know either. But, so after the honeymoon phase is over, you'll start to realize that that person is, you might start to depend on that other person for your happiness, or you start depending on that person to love you, okay? Because you don't have that love within and that happiness within, because you didn't find happiness in solitude with yourself without needing other people, right? So it's pretty dangerous to date somebody that has not developed happiness within in solitude, because after the honeymoon phase is over, or even in the honeymoon phase, they're going to start to depend on you for their happiness. Okay, so and that's when fights are going to arise. Clinging is going to arise. You're going to feel like this person is taking up too much of your time. They don't have any friends anymore because they relied on you for everything, and they don't have any more girlfriends or boyfriends, and you're you, that person, and Netflix.
Do you want them to be cheating on you?
Oh yeah, and are they cheating on you,
No,
or?
but you said they don't have any other girlfriend.
Oh no, like so like if it's a girl, like she stops hanging out with her girlfriends. If it's a guy, he stops hanging out with his guy friends, just because they become so obsessed with the partner. They become so obsessed with the boyfriend or the girlfriend. That happens to a lot of people. They stop spending time with their friends, you know, because their new love interest is the thing. That happens quite a bit. So anyways, so yes, find happiness in solitude, and dissolve the ego or the self, so you have love within and happiness within, so you can give it to the other person. Look for the other person to do the same, so they can love you and give you happiness back. Okay, the second way to stay together, this has to do with these things called love chemicals. And the love chemicals are developed in the first 2 or 3 years, okay? And the people that do develop these love chemicals are the ones that are married for 75 years, and when the husband dies, the wife dies the next day, or when the wife dies, the husband dies the next day, because they're like soulmates and they're so truly in love that they can't possibly think about living another day without this person that they fell in love with. So they'll honestly die from heartbreak within like the next week. This happens constantly, especially with married couples. What's that?
Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, like Carrie. You have a mosquito in your head. Sorry. But yeah, it happened with Carrie Fisher and her mom. It happened with it could even happen with like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. There were two guys, but like they were both married or whatever, but like they did so many films together, and they were both actors, like Grumpy Old Men and stuff like that, that they truly loved each other. And when the one died, the next died like shortly after. Charles Schultz, the guy that did Peanuts, the Charlie Brown character, and Woodstock and Snoopy, the day, his last day, he did that comic strip for like 30 or 40 years or something like that, and the last day he finished, the last day he was like, okay, my last day is this, I'm retiring, I'm not doing Charlie Brown anymore. He retired. It was his last day in the newspapers with the comic, and he died the next day because he couldn't survive without Charlie Brown and Snoopy and Woodstock and doing that drawing every day. It became such a love for him that he died the next morning. That's crazy, dude. Anyways, so it can not only just happen with partners that are husband and wife, or wife and wife, or husband and husband that have been married for a very long time. It could also happen with mothers and daughters, and sons and fathers and daughters, and
or just friends.
And just friends, yeah. So
or Charlie Brown and his creator.
Yeah, and like some people, they're so passionate, like Charlie Brown and his creator. They're so passionate about, and they're so in love with what they do, that as soon as they retire, they die pretty soon after. So the way to create these love chemicals, if you are married or if you have a partner, these love chemicals develop in the first 2 or 3 years. And if you do not create these love chemicals in the first 2 or 3 years, you will never create them. Um, and um, and that's why most people get divorced after 2 or 3 years. The majority of people get divorced after this time period because the love chemicals that they started to have in the honeymoon phase for the first 2 or 3 years, they wear out and they don't extend those love chemicals, and they usually end up getting divorced, or they stay together because of their kids or what, for finances or whatever the case may be, right? But these love chemicals could be developed doing three things. I learned about this on NPR. There was this love marriage psychologist on. She was like a doctor, about like marriage, love psychology. And the first one is human touch. Okay, so if you want to develop these love chemicals and continue to have these love chemicals for the next 50, 60 years until you're 95, 97, 102 years old, give each other massages every night, even if the massages are 2 minutes long, okay? Just human touch develops these love chemicals, but you got to do it every night, okay? Second one is feeling connected to this person and feeling like that person is there for you, okay? So having incredible communication, okay? When they get home at the end of the day, talk to each other, okay? Don't just like come in, peck each other on the cheek and turn on the TV or Netflix or go on the computer, go on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Sit down and hang out with each other. Talk to each other, like Indian style, and just chill out with each other, okay? And just ask each other interesting questions. If you ask each other questions like, oh, how was your day? They're going to say, oh, my day was good. End of the conversation. Conversation's not going to last that long, okay? It's a mute conversation. But if you ask each other questions like, oh, what was your favorite thing that happened today? Like your number one thing that happened today. What was it? Oh, what was the funniest thing that happened?
Flying panda or magical unicorn?
Yeah, like flying panda. Would you rather be a flying panda or a magical unicorn? Or who do you think would win in a fight, a caveman or an astronaut? I mean, like, fun, questions. One couple that this marriage psychologist had as patients, the man and the woman worked in different places, right? I think the woman was like a professor and like the man worked somewhere else. And every day that they would have to go to work, they would have like a 45-minute drive to work. So every morning when they left, they would always leave at the same time, I don't know why. But they would leave, or the man would leave, and the woman would turn on a radio in the house, and the man would drive with the radio on. And every day they would listen to the same news program. Or they would listen to, this couple listened to NPR, National Public Radio, which is kind of like a liberal station. And the man and the woman would listen to NPR. So when they got home, and they would listen to NPR every morning on the way to work, at the same time, they would listen to the same program, NPR. So at the end of the day, when they got home at 5:30, they would be like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear that on NPR this morning? That was amazing. That was so cool." And they would talk about what they heard for those 45 minutes on NPR. So it would give them something to talk about. If you're not a liberal, you could do it with like a Republican station, or you could do it with a sports station, or you could do it with an audiobook. You could listen to the same book with the same chapter every day. So today we'll listen to chapter 1 and 2. Tomorrow we'll listen to chapter 3 and 4. And we'll listen to the same chapters in the same audiobook, same book every day on the way to work or on the way home from work. Okay, so when you get home at the end of the day, you always have something to talk about, and you also have something in common, okay? So that's huge, okay? Huge? Huge. And number 3 is, this is, a lot of people like this one, okay? Every day, you're going to kiss for 3 to 4 minutes straight, and you're going to be standing up, and it's going to be to a song. And at the end of the song.
That just sounds like you're trying to make a cheesy romantic comedy.
Exactly right. And at the end of the song, it could be a new song, it could be an old song, it could be a song you haven't heard yet, it could be a favorite song, whatever it is, right? It could be one of your songs, the song you got married to, whatever the song is, right? But it's got to be a song, right? Because after 3 or 4 minutes, you have to stop kissing, okay? But you have to kiss, and it has to be standing up, okay? Because if it's laying down, you might fall asleep, or you might not stop kissing. You have to stop kissing at the end of 3 or 4 minutes, okay? The reason why you have to do this is because one of the major reasons why people get divorced is because they fall out of romantic love. And the reason why that happens is you become best friends and roommates that live together, okay? You leave at the beginning of the day and you give each other a peck on the cheek and you go to work. You come home from work, you give each other a peck on the cheek.
I have a point to make.
Bring it on.
Some people are asexual and they're not romantically attracted to people.
Yes, that's true. Like me. Like me, right?
You're not asexual. It doesn't ruin their relationship, though. They can still live perfectly happy lives with a partner. There's aromantic and there's asexual.
Should they still give each other massages?
Yeah, but
Key. Okay, so
massage. They don't enjoy kissing.
Okay, so for the asexuals out there, no kissing. If you are not an asexual, in fact, you can kiss. Okay, so that's
asexuals. Some of them still kiss each other for their partner, but they don't
Listen to her. She's like a post millennial. She knows what she's talking about. So anyways, but one of the reasons why you have to stop kissing after 3 or 4 minutes is because if you get in the habit of kissing when the song ends. Say if you kiss when the song ends, kiss when the song ends, kiss when the song ends 3 or 4 days in a row. And then on the 5th day or 2 weeks later, you don't, right? One of the partners might be like, oh my God, he didn't, or she didn't kiss me longer than the song was on. Oh my gosh, maybe they're not interested in me anymore. Maybe they don't like me as much anymore because they didn't kiss me after the song ended. And then you start to worry. And then you start to stress out. Okay. Or even get jealous.
You might want to pause because I'm going to do ice and it's going to be loud.
Okay. So that's... So, soon as the song ends, if you have to, just push each other away because you might be really romantically involved in the kiss, because it'll probably be a French kiss and stuff like that. Not push each other off in a bad way, but just kind of in a fun, joking way. So those are the 3 things, man. To get the love chemicals going and be married for 60, 65, 70 years until you're 102 years old, until one of you dies the next day.
Or you can be simple and marry Jesus.
Simple and marry Jesus. Alright guys, thank you so much for your time. And that's how you have a successful relationship. Anything to add?
Marry Jesus.
Marry Jesus. And if you're a lesbian or a gay person, that's fantastic. We have flags out there. We have bi flags out there too, which are interesting Easter colors. And
no, that's pansexual.
Or pansexual. And if you don't like people, if you don't want to be with people, you could adopt dogs and cats and rabbits and cheetahs. All right, guys, take care. La da 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 da.